Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another episode of Conquest, and today we're going to be doing some tier lists for the new released city-states. And we're going to be joined by two special guests today, who's, I think one of them has been painting city-states and the other one wants to main city-states. So first, let's give a warm welcome to Ben from Blitzminis, my favorite Conquest content creator on YouTube. What's up, Ben?
Hey, hi Evan. Hi guys. Thanks, pleasure to be here.
Your army is looking very nice. I've seen the pictures of it.
Thank you. Yeah, no, we were lucky enough to get the sets a day early. So I managed to try and paint up as much as I could, and we'll be having a Greek night on the 25th. We'll be having a tournament, and then we'll be having some Greek food, and anyone is welcome to join.
Now I want to go to Singapore, but yeah. Oh well, we shall see about that. And then introducing our second guest, my Conquest playing partner, who's been playing with me from the start, and he's going to start playing city states. So go ahead, Kai.
Hey, yeah. So I'm also super excited because from the start, this was one of the factions that I've been looking forward to, because they announced all the factions right ahead of their release. So there were so many factions that I thought cool looking, and this is one of the two that I knew I was going to get. The other one being Wadruin, which is my first army. So super excited to get my stuff in about a month or so.
Alright, so to those of you who's new, we're going to be making a tier list of all the available, to all the releasable units of city-states. So how this works is that we're going to take the units, attachment, and even commander options, and we're going to put them in a tier list, ranging from S all the way to D. From an S tier list, it's going to be sort of like the best of the best. They're almost broken for their point costs. An example of this would be the newly buffed Slingers, which has been wrecking people. I've been wrecked, and I think Ben just told me that he also has been wrecking people with Slingers. So probably going to the S tier list. For A tier list, this is going to be where most mainstay of the army is going to be located. So a lot of the mainstay options, such as Legionnaires, Force-Grown Drones, Tains, is going to be located in this particular tier list. And for B tier list, it's going to be sort of like the second option. Most likely, the restricted option is going to be here, or sort of like the secondary mainstay option is going to be here. So things like Atana Toy from the old Dominion is probably going to be here. And then we continue on to the C tier list. So C tier list is not necessarily bad, but they're sort of a corner case unit at best. So they have their uses, for example, like Strix in Spire. They have movement of 10 and can go across the battlefield really quickly. So very specialized units that does one thing really well. But other than that, they're not exactly sort of like forming your mainstay or your selection anytime soon. And over on D tier list, it's going to be units that are in quick glance, either very overcosted. So a lot of attachment is actually going to be in this list, because I think back in the old Dominion videos, we sort of made that if you're paying an extra like 25 points just to get an extra, dark power pool when they die, then it's simply not worth 25 points. You might as well just bring another stand to complement your list. Now, as some of you all also know, that Conquest recently has gone into the 2.0 system, which saw a lot of units get changed. So now it's a bit more streamlined, and it's more interesting as a game. I don't know about you guys, but I think I'm enjoying 2.0 so far so good. What do you think, Ben?
Yeah, no, I think a lot of the streamlining made a lot of sense, and it really helped minimize the amount of calculation you have to make. I'm not entirely sold on ranged. I think the ranged new rules do make them kind of powerful. But yeah, I think overall 2.0 was a godsend, and I think they're in the right direction. I think it'll last a while.
Kai, quick thoughts on 2.0? I know you've only played like 1 or 2 games with the system.
Who, me?
Kai.
Oh, Kai, yeah.
Well, the biggest change for me is no longer needing to remove models when they die, and I think that just makes it a completely different game. Because now the game becomes less fiddly. You can set up and clean up your game a lot faster than if you had to take all your models back and stick them to the bases. Especially if you play Wadrun, because that's such a hard model to rank up. But also, all the rules makes more sense to me. There's less rule interaction that confuses me, because in the previous version there were many rules that kind of make me go, oh, this isn't very intuitive. But I think it's a lot. It makes a lot more sense now. So I'm very happy.
Cool. So now we're going into the newest faction release from Conquest, which is City States. So this is, I think, a lot of people were excited when it got released, and I think in here a lot of people are suddenly starting to play Conquest just because of this faction, because they like the aesthetics of this steampunk clockwork Greek, and I think they look really cool. I won't be playing City States. I think Kai will be playing City States, so that's why I'm bringing him along for the ride and see if we can put some thoughts on like the City States. So maybe just a quick sort of breakdown of what city states are, sort of like in a very quick, couple of words. Ben, do you have any like ideas on like what city states are in terms of, I mean, I don't know, we're still, in the sort of experimental stage where people are still looking around, but what are your initial thoughts so far about city states?
I think I would put them exactly like how we would view the Greeks, where you've got blocks of infantry, a lot of in-depth infantry with sarissas and spears, a lot of support, and very defensive but not very maneuverable. And I think they kind of captured that quite well, until you add in the crazy cows that have Line Breaker and Cleave 3. I thought they were Cleave 2 for some reason, and then someone pointed it out on my Instagram and said, dude, they're not Cleave 2, they're Cleave 3. And I was like, wow, that's... I can't think of a single unit that, with Line Breaker you're not going to have no defense on.
Kai, you're going to be playing City States. What are your thoughts so far on the City States?
Yeah, I also think that they captured the historical feel of the Great Warfare. It's focusing on phalanx, and it's a very straightforward army. There's not a lot of trickeries to it. You will march your units forward. You will hold the line, and you will probably claim objective, because they're pretty tough for their points. But at the same time, they lack a lot of things that the other have options for. They have very few ranged units. They only have very few cavalries as well, and so you kind of have to be how you play them, because if you deploy wrong, your line is
right. So let's start with the first unit. We have here okay. So just disclaimer first: we're all Asian. We're all Asian here, so we don't know how to spell this. So feel free to make fun of us if we spell them wrong. But this is the pronunciation is wrong. But the first unit is Agema. I don't know if it's Agema or Agema or Agema. I'm gonna say it as Agema. So these are medium infantries with movement 5, clash of 3, 5 attacks, 4 wounds, resolve 3, and defense 2 with shield that has fluid formation and cleave 1. So just right off the bat, they look pretty standard in terms of spear and shield infantry. They just have an extra cleave on top of them to make them sort of are able to pierce through enemy's line. And they have an interesting rule of fluid formation, which means that sort of like a block of 3 can maneuver quite well, but they do have movement of 5, so they're not exactly like the fastest unit on the board.
I don't think they are spear though, because they don't have support.
Oh, oops, never mind.
I think they're probably axe or something, because they got cleave 1.
They showed the preview, and it's a sword and shield.
There you go.
Oh, swords with cleave 1. Interesting.
Yeah. So Agemas are historically they're supposed to be the special forces of the Greek and Macedonian armies. They're like the King's Guard. And I would say that quite decent. Their role is definitely as a hammer, and in that they do pretty well. They have 5 attacks. They have clash 3 and cleave 1. But if it was in any other army, I would consider them to be a top choice. But when it comes to hammers, later on we're going to talk about the crazy cows that Ben mentioned, and I just don't think they're anywhere as hard hitting as the Therians and crazy cows.
So I think these look like sort of like straight middle down the line, nothing too special, nothing too okay. So I think surely in like the mid category, they're pretty okay, average almost, nothing too special. I think this is a fair assessment of the Agemas. Any other dissenting thoughts?
Fluid formation is very very useful for an army that would otherwise be slow in plotting. It'll help them get to flanks.
Yeah, just kind of give you that 1 or 2 turns to like jump in front of the the
archers.
cavalry.
Yeah. But otherwise, they're pretty like straight down the middle in terms of like stats and everything. Nothing too special about them.
I do kind of feel that at 170 they're a bit expensive though.
Mm.
I feel like you're paying for that fluid formation.
Well, I don't know what the value of fluid formation is. They seem to put a lot of. I think it's one of the more overcosted ability in the game because I think like a lot of units with fluid formations are actually pretty expensive. Like we're talking like I think the archer units of Old Dominion, they have fluid formation randomly and they're like 200 points each, and they're like 200 points. So.
To take advantage of fluid formation, Raptors also have fluid formation, and they're a lot faster than the Agema, so they can use it to get into flanks. At movement 5, fluid formation is probably just going to help you
reposition.
Yes, charge things that were outside of your line of sight.
Yeah, but
the other thing about fluid formation is that it benefits ranged units more than it benefits melee units, because you can pull your line of sight from any side of the unit. So without range, you know, if it's costed the same, which I don't know if it is, but if it is, that it kind of makes it a little bit weak on infantry units.
Might even go down to C. Let's put it like B for now, and then if other B options are better than the Agemas, we can shove them down to C and see if we're okay with this.
Because the other unit that is probably comparable is Huskals. And Huskals are 150. But they don't have cleave, to be fair.
And no fluid formation, but you know.
And no fluid formation, yeah. Okay, I think B is fair.
All right, cool. All right, let's move on. So I think mostly for commander options. So in this case, this is the Aristarch. Most all of them are going to be at least in the A tier. There's simply no reason to put them anywhere below this rank simply because it's part of your army list. But I think we might go slightly deeper and look at what the Aristarch can actually do. So, Ben, would you like to go through what Aristarch can do in terms of what they bring to the battlefield?
So your Aristarch is, you've got a draw event called Battlefield Orders. You can either make the regiment he's with gain bravery, or you can make them gain untouchable. Wait, let me just pull that out. I think it's untouchable. Yeah, which is so the regiment rerolls failed defense saves of 6. So if you imagine that your hoplites could go up to D4, and then you have this guy in there that can make you reroll 6s, it kind of makes you roll 4s, D4 rerolling 6s, and I'm sure that there is an artifact which gives you Bastion, so that brings you up to 5 rerolling 6s, which if anyone has seen my channel and you've seen Disco Dino, that is basically what Disco Dino does.
Disco Dino?
Yeah, it's what I call the blue apex predator.
Disco Dino.
Yeah, whenever he kills a unit, I do a little Disco Dino thing. But yeah, so I think this is one of the... Now, one thing about this, I will say, that kind of irritates me, is that the draw event Battlefield Orders is the same name as the one that comes with Polmark, and they do different things.
Huh. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So it does bravery and untouchable, and then the other guy does reroll successful volleys of 1 and
unyielding.
Yeah. So I mean, you could have just named it something else, right? It's a little bit irritating, right? Because like they went through a lot of trouble to streamline everything else. So I don't know why they didn't do it for this one. But yeah, so the Aristarch is the more defensive option of the two. His supremacy ability is that when he's on the battlefield, when you activate a regiment from your command card from your strategic stack, which is one of the city-state special rules, the regiment adds 1 to its march characteristic until the end of the round, which is not particularly fantastic, if you ask me. So I do think between the Aristarch and the Pomart, which are the two heroes you start with, the Aristarch is kind of on the back foot, but I haven't been looking at it as much as everyone else. Maybe Kai has different insights.
First of all, regarding the battlefield order, I think it will come into why they chose to make it the same name. There is an attachment, the Lochagos.
Lochagos, yeah.
Yes, that copies the battlefield order. Yes, they just wanted to make sure that it applies to both the Aristarch and the Pope. Anyways, I agree. I think that the Aristarch definitely has its uses. The battlefield order have very, very clear usage. Rerolling sixes, for and rerolling sixes. It's mathematically, I've seen it in a lot of things. Slingers, which to volley 4 sixes with the napper, and it's one of the more reliable rules. But I see very few cases where you want the Aristarch as your warlord as opposed to the other guys, because their supremacy abilities. One of them is you can withdraw more easily, but if you're withdrawing, a lot of the times things are kind of going bad. They have okay middle average stats. They're only 90 points. You can fit these guys in.
So I have no other thoughts on the Aristarch. I think both Ben and Kai has sort of described them quite well. So for our next unit, I know the picture that I put here is kind of silly, but it is the Clockwork Hoplite. So Clockwork Hoplite is a unit that is a heavy infantry, which has Phalanx, Flurry, Cleave 1, Harden 1, Support 2, and a rule called Automaton, that simply means that it has roughly the same ability as the old Dom one, meaning that they cannot be inspired, and they don't have resolve characteristics, and they pass morale resolve characteristic tests, but they can still be broken and or shattered as a result of casualties. So this is a heavy unit that has Clash of 2 with 4 attacks, Wound 5, Defense 3, plus no shield, but Phalanx. So basically defense 4 if an attack coming from the front march. But it is relatively slow because the Phalanx maximum charge distance is always march rally plus 3, so they cannot, for example, roll 6s on like the charge distance. Plus, because of Phalanx they can't be inspired, but because of Automaton they also cannot be inspired, so it's like, they're not exactly the one doing the charges.
Oh, they
anyway.
can't be inspired even with the charge as well, or?
So it just says here, cannot benefit from the inspired special rule.
Yeah. Which is actually worse than animate vessel, because animate vessel
can still be, can still be. Okay. Well, but they have Flurry, so they can re-roll their massive Clash 2, which I'm sure they'll re-roll this a lot. And with Cleave 1, Harder 1, and Support 2, I think they're an interesting option. I don't know exactly how to value them, but I know having a unit with no resolve, and it's relatively cheap at 190 points. But
also, the infantry for this army is typically 4 wounds per stand. This is 5 and no resolve. So you're looking at something in the region of like 8-9 wounds equivalent. Yeah.
Harden also makes it tankier than it seems, because they're practically defense 5 against things with Cleave, right? Because they're defense 4, but they ignored the first point, Cleave. So against a lot of hammers, they would still be defense 4, which I think matters quite a bit. There are ways around the no inspire thing. I think using an item, which I think it only matters for the Phalanx. The Automaton still prevents inspires.
Yeah, it says it doesn't say you can't take the action, it just says you don't benefit from it. So
So you can inspire, but you don't.
you just don't get the benefit.
Yeah.
It also has evasion 1. I don't know when that will come into effect, if it's already defense 4 with hardened 1.
Oh, against the cows.
Oh, yeah, I guess.
The whole army, doesn't it? The Agema had it as well. Oh no, they didn't. Sorry.
Oh, we can check. Agema doesn't have it. Evasion 0.
So another thing that you have to take into the Clockwork Hoplites have some synergy, some special items, the Eidolon and the Mechanist that can off them specifically. There are some items that gives them double time, and then if your warlord is an Eidolon or Mechanist, these guys also become medium. So
There we go.
yeah. So there are specific builds, I feel, where your Clockwork Hoplite better, but you kind of have to build specifically towards that sub theme, because otherwise, for 190 points, it's really expensive.
I think it's Oh, that's interesting. I just read the carrier of the God Flesh from Eidolon. It makes them medium, and then it can also change the harden +1. It increases the harden, but minusing their march, so they can even be like more tankier than they are against like
And
Cleave
even
2.
slower than they are.
So, well, not when you give them the Antisictian alloy gears, which gives them double time.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, double time in March 4 is still just 12 inches.
No, but the Antisictian alloy gears gives them an extra +1 march.
One thing I will say is that may not be obvious to everybody, but this army doesn't have banners.
Ooh.
They don't have standard barriers, so they don't get unstoppable, and they also don't get the 1 inch march extra on the second march.
Interesting.
Yeah. I didn't even realize this until I was building the models, and then I was like, "Where's the banner?"
Is this like intentional or?
I think the Greeks at least they're playing them as the Greeks, and I think the stereotype is they're a bit backward, which is also will play in later with the companion cav, because the companion cav are so bad at impact hits because at that point in history they didn't have stirrups,
Oh.
which really made the lances smash through things. So if you were like on a horse, right, and you didn't have a stirrup, I would probably still die if you stabbed me with a fucking lance. But if I'm in a phalanx formation, you're not gonna go through.
Now that's the meta back then, right?
Yeah, that's the meta back then, right? I mean, the first guy who came up with stirrups fucking ruled the world for a while, right? That's why when you watch like Braveheart and stuff, that king is like, oh, no one stands in front of heavy English cavalry for 200 years. Yeah, it's because these fucking stirrups.
That's what I thought too, because especially the Greeks that are being portrayed here, they come from way before the medieval era where heavy cavalry becomes the norm. But then in the universe, the Old Dominion, which came before the city-states, have cataphracts, and they're like absolute monster infantries and cavalries.
That's
Right?
a good point. That's a very good point.
So, because the story of the city-states is that they transferred most of the knowledge from Old Dom to the city-states. Good cavalry was one of the knowledge that they didn't bring along, apparently.
That's a good point. That kind of throws out my Greek theory. Yeah, actually, it's kind of interesting, huh? Like the Greeks are the ones who brought the knowledge away, but the Romans are the ones that actually came after historically.
Yeah, so it's not exactly 100% historical match apple to apple in this case.
No, it's fine. I think it's a lot of it also for like game purposes and stuff. Anyway, so I think for Clockwork Clockwork Hoplites, I'm gonna put them in B, but low B. If it's brought by an Eidolon, otherwise it's C, because I don't think outside of Eidolons you're going to bring these guys in. All right, let's move on. The next unit we have is the oh boy. Well, we've just talked about it, so Kai, go ahead. Companion cavalry.
Okay, so when I first started reading the units, this was one of the units that I got really excited about. Oh my God, they have the companion cavalry. The finest cavalry of their time during the time of Alexander. key to its conquest. But then you look at the stats and you go, what are they supposed to do, really? They have low clash of 2. They have low defense, also 2. They have slightly above average attacks in 6. That's about it. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure why they're decently cheap. I suppose 160 isn't too bad, but it's just outclassed by cavalry from every other faction, to the point where I don't think I'll break them. If it's just for movement 8, they have some of their brutes also pretty fast and can fill the role that the companion cavalry. Yeah, I'm not so sure why I ever want to bring these guys.
Ben, go ahead. It's your turn now to grill the competitive cavalries.
I mean, I think that is coming from a person who is definitely playing the faction. I'm just gonna be honest, they're rubbish. So for 140 points, I would get Household Knights, which are D4. R3, 4 wounds. They don't have 6 attacks, that's true. They don't have E either, but you know, when you really need it. They also have Clash 2. So, I mean, like, I mean, okay, arguably the Household Knights are now movement 7, but they got cheaper. They're now 140. So I would be very hard pressed to put Companion Cav in a list. Although, I think, like was brought up by Kai, there are very, very limited cavalry options. And the other option you have is War Chariots, which are very, very cheap. And I think they're a bit better, but anyway, we'll go to them later. But for Companion Cav at 160, I think they're trying to like shoehorn you into the meta of the list, which is that, you know, you're all about infantry blocks. Your maneuverable forces are going to be more expensive, and they're just there to hold off while the rest of the army pivots or turns, because they're not going to last very long.
They do have Dread, which is a pretty rare ability, but because they're so squishy, I'm not sure the Dread can help them. Because even without inspiring, the enemy can probably damage them quite badly.
Yeah, I would venture to say that, you know, even with Dread, like, you're gonna get murdered. You're gonna lose so many guys.
God.
Yeah. Well, I think it's really just safe to say it's a D tier. I think this is the first D tier on this list. Really bad, but you know, we need to have bad units, right? Sometimes. So
we would push it down to E if we could. Guys,
this
bad.
this is coming straight from someone who's going to play it.
And no, I'm not playing it, but I can say that, you know, I'm so sure that the model is gonna look amazing.
Alexander the Great is rolling in his grave.
Yeah. All right. Let's quickly move on from the companion cavalry, and we move to the first attachment in this list. So we have the Dorilates, Pilates. The regiment, including any auxiliary and character stands against the flurry special rule, all for 15 points.
These are the ones that you can bring in the Phalangites, which was released in the starter set.
Yeah.
Is it released anywhere else?
The Dorilates?
Yeah.
Oh,
The
they.
Hoplites have them too.
No, is it like the model itself? Does it come in
No,
the
no, no.
phalanx?
It can only be in like Hoplites and Phalangites, right?
Yep, Hoplites, Phalangites, yes, correct.
In the flurry special rule. Okay.
And any auxiliary as well.
Yeah, so the Minotaurs. Considering that you cannot inspire due to phalanx, I think this helps them go up to acceptable level of accuracy. If they could have inspired, this would probably be a lot better. You know, this makes your anvil able to do some damage instead of just holding things in place for your hammers to swing.
Yeah, I think it's fair for like 15 points. It's a third of a stand because an extra stand is 45 points, but I think it's for 15 it's quite okay. What do you think, Ben? Which where should we put this this attachment in?
As a sign of how I did not prepare for this, I didn't know that Phalanx didn't let you inspire.
It's,
When Kai said that, I was like, "Wait, what?"
yeah, man.
I knew about the max distance. I was like, "Wait, it can't inspire? That's retarded." Oh, goodness, these guys. What?
Welcome to Old Dumb. It's like playing Old Dumb.
But old Dom can get it late game. These guys, you can't turn Phalanx off, right?
No.
Not if you're alive. If you're dead, apparently.
Yeah. Did you know that Legionnaires also they have phalanx and they can turn it off?
Yeah.
Because it's a draw event.
Oh yeah, because they gotta remember it.
Yeah, I'm like, oh duh, I forgot phalanx now.
Oh shit! I'm supposed to like lock my shield. I would put this actually in probably A tier. I think at 15 points it's not bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think at 15 points it's probably an auto include. Wait, well, not for Phalangites to be fair, because for the Phalangites you can't bring an auxiliary stand.
Yeah.
But for the Hoplites, with that stupid bull in the front, it kind of makes that unit really painful to stand in front of. Because you're hitting them on D5, and then the D5? No, D4. D4.
Yep.
But then, you've got one guy with cleave 1, flurry, 4 attacks. He's going to do a little bit of damage, which helps you chip you away.
Mm-hmm. Especially
And
when
if you
your
bring-
lines clash, right?
Yeah, no, and then if you bring the pole mark or something, you can increase their clash, right? Yeah, so it becomes 4s with rerolls. That's like 4 hits. Easily. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think A is good because both of the attachments are pretty good. They both have their own roles, but Flurry is one of those abilities that you almost can't go wrong with, I feel.
Yeah. It's just straight up like increased in the amount of accuracy because the rerolls is obviously has more impact on it overall. Mm-hmm.
I
Right.
will say though that it one thing is that the pole mark already has flurry.
Yeah. So for him,
So-
for that unit, it doesn't matter. But I feel like this is an army that will bring multiple hoplites because you need a long line to be able to defend your flanks too. So,
Yeah.
All right, so that's good. All right, moving on, we have the Eidolons. So Eidolons is also another commander option for your units. This one is an interesting one because it's a brute model, which is medium, but it can be attached to an infantry regiment even though it's a brute character. And so it's sort of like part of the combined arm thing that the city states have going for them. For Eidolon specifically, like we mentioned earlier, it gains a lot of benefits for bringing the Clockwork Hoplite because they make it the class into medium, and then they can also do a lot of things that improves the mobility of the Clockwork Hoplite, such as the anti-Scythian alloy gears, which gives them double time, or makes the Eidolon attack even more by adding combat directives into giving them extra stuff like cleave +3, for example. So this is a very interesting unit because you can sort of like program them to do very specific things, or you can leave them sort of like in their normal classes so that they can do like a lot of sort of like a jack of all trade build. So pretty interesting commander option. I'm not sure if you're if this polemark or the Aristarch would be like sort of your main commander option, but I think it's an interesting one. What do you think, Ben?
Wait, is the Eidolon or the pole mark?
Eidolon.
I think he's got one combat directive called "Greetings to a fellow general." And if you gave me 100 guesses, I would not have guessed what "Greetings to a fellow general" does. But it adds 5 attacks to this guy's attack characteristic, and -1 penalty to its evasion.
Whoop-de-doo.
Who says hello to you and you more than double in combat effectiveness? Like what? So I don't know. He's got 9 attacks at that point. He's got 4 base and he goes up to 9 with that. He's got 6 wounds. He is a character, so he can duel. It's gonna be rough. He can also take cleave +3, which is pretty damn strong. You could probably put him in a unit if you give him precision and then you put him in a unit with Hoplites or Phalangites, and you give him Flurry. Holy shit, this guy's so dangerous.
It's quite expensive, but at 120, it's the most expensive character they got. But the stat line is amazing. Also has 6 wounds, right?
Mhm.
Movement 7 means you can put him in faster units, the brute units, and it's just so flexible. It can 9 attacks for a lot of most of the time. I think 9 attacks is just going to be the default choice, unless the enemy has really high armor. Then you want to use the cleave 3. But yeah, and you can bring up to 3 modifications, so they can really be customized according to your needs. Me personally, I have a burning hatred for old Dom, so I will always give them Hephaestian alloy, which reduces enemy aura of death by -2.
Wop,
So-
wop, wop.
Yeah. So,
Very sad.
yeah, and if you put them in they can't bring Phalangites. That's a shame. Would be fun to see a unit that's immune to both impact hits and aura of death. I also played Cataphracts a lot, so
That seems like
Or
a
you-
yep.
You could put him in a Phalangite unit, and then
yeah, probably.
if
Yeah.
any Cataphract charges a Phalangite unit, it's game over.
I mean, at that point, they'll try and then they'll never do it again. So,
Uh,
all right, let's put him in straight in A. I think it's a decent commander option. Just in general, I think by default, most commander option outside of maybe Iparchos is going to be in A. But we'll get to him in a bit. All right, moving on. We are at the Hospice. So Hospice is the one of the 2 Minotaur unit that's available in City States. This one is the sort of the more defensive option compared to the crazy cows that these 2 guys have been hyping for a while now. So at 180 points, it comes in with a brevy of special rules, chief of which is Vanguard. So it can be used to sort of move the line relatively quickly. With also having speed of 6, meaning that they can, when they come out of the reinforcement zone, they can move 18 inches with the Vanguard rule. They also have defense 2 with shield, which is okay. Fearsome, which basically makes opponent reroll d6s when they're performing some rally. Brutal impact 1 and impact 2 just means that they will have the capacity to do some impact hits, and then cleave 1. This stat seems a bit sort of all over the place in terms of what they want to do, and with only attack of 4, I think they don't exactly hit that hard comparatively. Defensive wise, they're also like pretty average, so I'm not sure how to evaluate this unit. It seems pretty medium in all sense of the word here for the Hospice.
well, 180. It's you pay quite a bit for it, but I feel like if this is your defensive unit with brutal impact 1, impact 2, cleave 1, and 4 attacks, that's already enough. That's already a semi hammer in my book, not fully a defensive unit. I will also say that the cool thing about them is if you buy the box, you can then use them as you can put the Minotaur in the Hoplite units, which I think is the best thing in this whole army. But I would bring at most 1 unit of Hospice. Meanwhile, the Therian the other one I could bring multiple of, but these guys just for Vanguard. It helps you push your units forward because this is one of the rare units that don't have phalanx in the whole army, and with Vanguard, they're one of the faster units for city states to be able to get to the middle pretty quickly.
Ben, what do you think?
I think this is actually going to be A tier, based on the fact that I think you will see them in almost every list, because of the Vanguard. So, given the new rules for V2, considering you can always bring a unit in, I think you will always bring this guy in as your first medium unit, because he is a unit that can run up 18 and survive pretty reliably.
Yep.
Yeah, because a lot of times you have a unit that's got Vanguard, and then you run him up in front, and then he just gets murdered. Yeah, well, this guy, if you go up and punch him, he's gonna punch back.
Yeah, I think having a unit with Vanguard in general will increase sort of like the utility of this unit. Yeah, seems like a good place to put it. Cool.
And he's not rubbish, like he's not like Imperial Rangers. You're like, oh, you run up, oh great, and then did you die? No, you didn't. Oh, okay.
Clash 3, I think. Clash 3 is because my brutes in Woodruin, the Warbreed are Clash 2. I see Clash 3 and I go, oh.
That's true. We are Clash 2, but we're 190.
Yeah.
Right, Warbreed, but we're 5 attacks, right?
Yeah. More
yeah.
attacks.
Okay. And we're Cleave 2, which is let's not complain too much. They might take it away.
All right, moving on into the first of the 2 monster unit that's available to city-states, we go with the Hephaestian. So this one is it's a bit of a banger here at 250 points with movement of 7, clash of 3, 10 attack, 14 wounds, resolve 4, defense 3, and evasion 1. It comes with cleave 3, harden 1, priest 2, herald of the Forge God, which I'll talk about in a bit, terrifying 2, and impact 5. So Herald of the Forge God means that whenever it does damage, when it does clash, it adds that much dice to its spell. So for example, if you deal like 5 wounds, he suddenly becomes priest 7 instead of priest 2.
Wait, it's hits, right? Or is it wounds?
Is it hits or wounds? Oh, it's hits. Hits. Yeah. However, it does also give you sort of like a penalty. In which case, if you want to cast a spell, it needs a minimum of 4 successes instead of the usual 2. So, for example, with Trident Strike, you need to have at least 4 successes instead of 2 successes. And Achievement 2, that is pretty rough in terms of like the successes, but with the amount of hits that potentially is available with the Hephaestian, it can roll like a maximum of 12 dice with success 2, and you just need 4 successes, which then translate to an additional 8 hits on the target regimen, which is pretty good. But yeah, I mean, I have bad experience with Ice Jotnar. Is this going to be as scary as Ice Jotnar, Ben?
No, I don't think so. I think this guy is the problem with the Ice Jotnar is that he can kind of hold back. With both of these, you have they're 2 giants, and I think distinctly one is defensive and one is offensive. And because of the way the Herald of the Forge God works, you're gonna have to put these guys in a place where they're constantly in danger. So they can buff everyone around them, but they're gonna be in danger. And I think 14 wounds is not a lot. It's like a Mountain Jotnar, which is doable.
Yeah.
You could take him down.
With defense 3 and hardened and 14 wounds, I think it is going to be pretty survivable. The basic priest value on this thing is pretty low too, which means that unless you're already hitting people, even your standard spells like the Trident Strike, it won't deal too much damage. So I feel it definitely always wants to be in a position where it can charge things first and then cast something, because 2 is really low. I've seen regiments with higher priest values.
Yeah. So who can bring this Hephaestian?
Of these guys,
Eidolons, yeah.
Would be the Eidolon.
Yeah, I think only
the one that brings the
and Mechanist for whatever reason. Oh right, their technology, right? They're not exactly like giants. They're like Colossus, right? I should have had a better picture.
Well, because the models that were shown aren't painted, you don't actually know if they're fully mechanical, if their skin are made of metal or not. But supposedly these are giants that help city-states build their cities. So they have mechanical parts, but most of them are just flesh. They're Jotnars who take showers, basically. They're pretty.
Mm-hmm. All right, Ben, what would you put these guys are at?
I don't know if we'll see them in every list.
Not at
But-
250.
Yeah, so I'd actually put them in a E. Kind of that's circumstantial, right?
Kind of, yeah, because it's
Yeah.
not exactly like an option that you bring in. Like, okay, first of all, like commander option has already been limited to only like 2 of them, the Eidolons and the Mechanist, and it's also a restricted option at 250 points with heavy as well. So Yeah. All right. Seems like a any anything against that, Kai? Just straight down the middle. Nothing too special.
I would put them in C because I think we need to look at what role are they supposed to fill, and they're they're kind of doing both duties here. They're decently tanky, but they also hit pretty hard. But for 250 points, I think I would just bring something cheaper like the Minotaur Therians.
All right. I like hot takes, so we're moving down to C.
Let's do it.
Hot take.
Also, it's going to be really hard to transport, which is a factor that I take into account when buying models.
My Fallen Divinity just got painted, and I have no idea how to transport it, to be honest. Shit. All right. Moving on, we have the Hoplite. I think this one, because of just how ubiquitous they are, they're just gonna be put here, and then we can talk about the Hoplites. Go ahead, Kai.
Okay, so the Hoplites, every faction have an equivalent, right? A medium infantry with shields, but they all have slightly different flavor. Now the Hoplite is, I think, the tankiest out of all of them because they can get to defense 4, but at the same time, they cannot charge further than 3. So I think they're going to be the backbone of your army because just a big block of defense for high resolve for what is I believe to be a relatively cheap point cost for what they can do. You will always have a place for them, and especially because you will almost always bring a Minotaur Hospice auxiliary, which is only 15 points more expensive than their additional stand, but brings so much to the table. Great unit, great core. I love it.
All right, Ben. Any other comments for the Hoplites?
So we opened the podcast talking a little bit on some of the V2 upgrades, and I think Slingers came up, and at 9 inches, which is just outside of this person's charge range because of Phalanx, I can do an average of 24 hits.
So you're saying that they're just gonna get straight up murdered by the...
No, I'm just saying that I'm not too scared of them.
Whoa, some words here are
fighting
spoken.
words.
Some
Yeah,
fighting
but,
words.
I do think they are very strong for their points. At 130, I think you get a lot. So I agree. I agree with Kai. I think this is between this one and the Phalangites. I think these guys do take a bit more of the show. Even though I really like those long Sarissas.
All right. Next one, we're going to be moving to the Inquisitors. So Inquisitors is a unit of Brute, 220 points, movement of 7, with Flurry, Unstoppable, Impact 3, and Cleave 1. Attack 6, Resolve 5, Jesus. Wow, that's a lot.
What unit is this?
Inquisitors.
Oh, right. Well, I mean, you'd expect them to have a bit of conviction.
But what are they actually in, like, the flavor, Kai? Like, what are these Inquisitors?
So they're brutes, right? Whereas the Eidolon, we've seen parts of them, and they're kind of robots. They're clockwork creations. The Inquisitors are supposed to be they're not machines. They are created biological creatures because the city-states have mastered that technology which they brought from Old Dominion. They can create their own gods. Apparently, they can just like create a god in a test tube somewhere. And I believe this is one of the creatures they created.
Interesting story. All right, cool. So what does that translate to? They're just a big block of high resolve units with Impact 3, Cleave 1, Unstoppable Flurry. So
well, they're also movement 7 though. So I think they're one of the fastest unit in the army. So,
it's a very low bar, but yes.
yeah, but they also have Unstoppable, right? So 7 and Unstoppable. I think that's very respectable.
It's as good as it gets for city states.
And there's the companion cavalry, but I.
I think this is your cavalry unit.
That's what I think too. This is your heavy infantry, quote unquote.
This is your heavy cavalry, quote unquote. All right.
Yeah.
The
That's
companion cav is
three.
it's just a screen.
Yeah, it's impact 3, right? 6 attacks equal.
Yeah, it's pretty
And
good.
flurry. And flurry. So they hit decent.
At 220 points, it's pretty expensive though.
It is. It is 15 wounds with really good resolve.
The resolve 5 is really ridiculous.
That-
1 flurry, 6 attacks. I think that's a lot of pain.
Yeah, I mean, I think it has its uses. This is a very interesting unit. I like Resolve 5 units. They seem pretty tough, but yeah, I think I'm gonna put them sort of like high B, probably like mid B for now. Seems like a.
I would not put them at A, but yeah, B seems good to me.
All right, cool. Next one we have the Iparchos, which has the unfortunately named rule called the finest cavalry, which says this character stands warband may not contain more than 3 regiments of companion cavalry. Haha! Too bad it doesn't say 0, because no one's gonna bring companion cavalry.
Yeah, I wouldn't even bring 1. So I don't know
What is this rule supposed to mean? Like, are you saying that companion cavalry is so good that you can only bring like a maximum of 3?
Wait. There's something we're missing about companion cavalry. I don't know what it is, but there must be something.
That's maybe a typo.
I don't know. Even 6 attacks, but at Clash 2, what the hell are you gonna do?
I don't know.
I mean, on Inspire, you're gonna do 3 hits each, which is what 9 hits for 160. Yeah, it's terrible.
My guess for finest cavalry is this is here purely so that you will not be able to make a pure cavalry. Well, you can't do it anyways, but they want to limit the number of cavalry that you can bring, just so that it stays thematically coherent to the Greek army, because the Greeks and the Macedonians at that time, they don't have a lot of cavalry, and they want the city-states to be like that, so they put in this rule. But 3, you barely want to bring 1.
I'm just gonna put them straight in D because it's
So
it's kind of sad. All right, let's move on from this sad fest already and move on to probably the other more interesting attachment, which is Lochagos. I think we mentioned about Lochagos, but I think it's a very interesting attachment. It says, let me just quickly open it. So Lochagos says, when his officer is present, the regiment may use the resolve characteristic of a friendly character stand within 18 inches, as if it was attached to the regiment, and the battlefield orders draw event can also affect this unit's the one that has Lochagos in it. So, are you bringing Lochagos or are you bringing Dorilates? You can't bring both, right?
yeah,
Bring both. Yeah, it's just one.
I believe that mathematically the Dorilates will be relevant times than the Lochagos, but the Lochagos is so interesting. You can make this because I used to play Trollbloods in War Machine and Horde, so I like the brick kind of army where you just huddle up and then you have interlocking buffs, and that's what Lochagos allows you to do. The battlefield order, for example, the one that gives you enemy has to reroll hits of 1 for a range attack. If you have that all across the board, which you can kind of do if most of your units have Lochagos, it's very interesting. But I do feel that Dorilates is the better option, just because it will always be relevant.
Yeah. Ben, any thoughts about the Lochagos?
No, I'm in full agreement. I don't think you'll see it as much as.
So I think we can probably like bump them down to maybe B, just because like the Dorilates is going to be so much better than Lochagos, just because of that. All right, let's move on. Next we have the other commander option, which is the Mechanist. So the Mechanist is a priest. Okay.
Gone.
Yeah, of course. Okay. Why not? Yeah, it has a gun. You're right. It has a gun.
Armor-piercing torrential fire. He has an Uzi.
You know.
Range 12 though, yeah.
I don't know where you'd put this though, because it's not like they have a lot of ranged unit options. So I don't know where
No, it's just like the dwarves sorcerer, right? You just put them in like a tank unit, and then if the opponent doesn't come to you, you just shoot at them from far away, and they come to you, they can still like shoot using their spells. But let's check out like what spells options that they have here. They don't have a spell option. What? Oh, they do have.
He does.
Aggressive.
It's all
So
just bad.
So just oh.
So the thing is, it can all of these affect only automatons, right? Oh, except
The Clockwork Parade, which is So Clockwork Parade changes phalanx into not phalanx.
no,
Oh,
went from
barely.
+3, +4, so
Yeah.
barely.
Wait, are you serious?
But it's not max. It's a +4. It's March value +4. It's not max.
Okay.
So it gives you a instant like you just that +4, yeah, which is not bad.
Is it?
But
Total charge distances as its March value.
+4.
Yeah.
Interesting.
it's not max distance. But the Iron Stride is again they're just trolling the companion cav.
Ignore the effects of hindering.
Yeah, oh great, you get your impact too. Congratulations.
And range 8 too, so they're gonna have to be like very nearby to be benefiting from the buff. Oh yeah, I don't like this unit. Seems pretty bad. Like I don't know. Seems not very good.
Yeah. The only automaton unit they have are Clockwork Hoplites, I believe.
Yeah,
So,
but other-
very limited usage for this guy.
Yeah, I think this is going to be the first commander that's okay. Never mind. Iparchos was in D tier. I think Mechanist, simply because the use cases aren't there yet. Maybe we're not seeing like the combo. Maybe somebody will figure out what the combo is, or later down the line when they give you like bit more things. But for now, I think Mechanist is simply in the. Moving on, and then we have the Phalangites. Sorry, not Phalanx. Phalangites. So Phalangites is it a multi-kit? Ben?
Yeah, multi-kit. Hoplites and Phalangites, yeah. You can do whichever one.
So instead of talking about like whether Phalangites or the Hoplites are better, like how much would you what are you going to make with your set? Like how many Phalangites and how many Hoplites are you going to be bringing in your army?
Talking to Kai?
No, to you, Ben.
Oh, to me. I only got the starter box, so I made one Phalangites and one Hoplites and the Minotaurs.
But in general, like, are you going to make more Phalangites or more Hoplites?
Oh, definitely more Hoplites. I can't see the use case for Phalangites. They're more expensive than the Hoplites, but maybe Kai has a better idea on how to use them. I can't figure out what they're gonna do in the army.
Yeah. So the pike formation is a very good ability when they're going up against the right enemies in the right position. But so it's not an ability that will come into play all the time. Meanwhile, the Hoplites have a shield that will come into play all the time. So I thought about making one unit of Hoplites and one Phalangites just for variety, but I think Hoplites are just it's a lot more ubiquitous, cheaper too. And the Sarissas are impressive looking, but I keep worrying that they would snap because they're just so long and thin. So again, this is something that I take into account when I pick my model. Is that how practical are they on the table as well as they're. So I think I would go Hoplites all the way.
Yeah, seems fair. So I think they're probably going to be put in like maybe like C even because the use cases are just like less compared to the Hoplites.
The fact that they also don't have access to auxiliaries, it's a big deal because I think auxiliaries are very powerful.
Yes.
They don't have access to those.
I think I would put them in D.
Whoa! All right. I'm down.
I'll tell you why. Because the pike formation takes away your impact, right? But unless you're companion cav, any other cavalry.
Unless you're companion cav, haha. Nice meme, Ben.
Yeah, could go in there and still just do normal hits to your D2 and murder the whole unit.
But
Yeah,
it's
D2.
because of phalanx.
Sure, but D3, I'd still take that chance. Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna do half of the hits I do are going through, right? And then you've got R3, which is another half. So that's 75, 0.75 wounds per hit. It's not good.
They also have less attacks The Hoplites. The Hoplites are attack 4. The Phalangites are attack 3. They are support 3, but I just don't think.
Yeah, but that means you're gonna have to bring like sticks to make it worthwhile, and they're more expensive already. So it's like, why?
I
Yeah.
agree.
Maybe if they let you put like the big Minotaur, the one with the big axe, put him in right in the middle. That'll be fun.
Oh yes.
Yeah. You can bully all the guys, but this guy with the axe is gonna pay you back.
All right. So I think I'm perfectly fine shoving these guys on like the D tier. I think so. I think next one will be Kai's favorite commander choice. So we have the what's this guy's name again? Polmark. There you go. Go ahead, Kai. Take it away.
Army of Lions. Yeah, go for it.
Yes, absolutely. Army of Lions is, I think, the best supremacy in this army, because +1 clash always relevant, and then tenacious as a bubble, not just even like on their unit. You can give it to multiple units. So it treats one failed die roll as a success, and that's the one ability that I feel is going to be very iconic of this army. Just like big blocks standing in a line, and they can weather most of the attacks that you throw at them. The other thing is that despite being the same point, 90 is the Aristarch, these guys are way better in combat simply because they have flurry, and 5 attacks, flurry, clash 3. That's really good. And Army of Lions also make them clash 4, so clash 4 and flurry. Oh, I can't wait to use this guy.
And he's got an additional defense on top of the other Aristarch.
That's true. Yeah, so much better, I feel. Something you need to take into account is that they will mostly be in a phalanx, right? So that's why the Army of Lions kind of make up for it, because it puts the phalanx's hitting ability equal to the standard instead of just lower because they can't inspire.
All right. Seems like a good use case for them.
Very good use case, and I think if anyone hasn't seen what his Battlefield Order Unyielding does, it basically blocks an objective from an
You
opponent,
cannot contest an objective.
which is so retardedly good. I mean,
Yeah.
especially because you can have a wide front with hoplites, and then you just need, this guy here with D4 rerolling 6s, and then when you can contest, I just use Unyielding just to make sure that you have to kill my very last stand.
So
Man, that's annoying.
His battlefield orders are one of the reasons why I actually considered bringing a Lochagos, because if you have a bubble of like 3 units with Unyielding, you can just block off objectives so well, depending on what kind of scenarios you're playing, of course.
Oh, that's a good point.
Rerolling hit
Ooh.
rolls of 1 is also going to be very relevant for a slow-moving army. Volley actions, that is, because you're gonna get shot quite a bit because your army is slow. It's just gonna march in there, and they're gonna get shot up. And if for things like bow chosen, where rolling 1 means they can go through your armor, making them re-roll it, it's a big deal.
Fair point. Yeah.
All right. Quickly moving on, we have the Promethean, which is almost the reverse of the Hephaestian, in which this is the... Never mind, it's a medium monster, but this is sort of like the more support in terms of like the combat capabilities, with a slightly higher resolve. Promethean is a medium monster with 7 movements, clash of 3, attack 10, wound 14, resolve 4, and the rest of the ability is pretty much reminiscent of the Hephaestian, except with the, I believe, with terrifying... oh no, they have the same... never mind. Promethean.
Hephaestian is terrifying too.
Yeah, this one is terrifying 1, and
Also Cleave
Cleave 3 instead of Cleave 2. It is 20 points cheaper and it's a medium, but the spells are more interesting. The first one is the Temper Resolve that has an attunement cost of 3. Each friendly regiment within 8 inch of this regiment may reroll defense and moral test rolls of 6 until the end of the round. And then you have Quench Blade, which gives them reroll of 6s and +1 to their clash characteristics. But would you be paying 230 points for a support unit?
Well, support unit has attack 10 and Cleave 2.
Support unit.
Support unit.
But I think the use cases for this compared to the Hephaestian is I think this unit has a bit more use cases than the Hephaestian, I feel.
I believe so because the Hephaestian, the offensive spell, it requires a lot of success to be worth it. But this one, as long as you can cast it, as long as it goes off, even if you just get one success with this, it'll be okay, right? It'll still work, and it'll affect multiple units around it. So.
Yeah.
Why would it still work? You still need 4 successes, don't you?
You still need to punch stuff, unfortunately, because of the Herald of the Forge God.
Yes, but if you only get 4 successes on a Trident Strike, that means that spell does 2 hits, and that's it. But here, if you get 4 successes, the effect, I believe,
okay, I see.
Yep.
2 hits. Because by the nature of offensive spell, you need a lot of successes.
Wait, sorry. Just to confirm. Wait, Trident Strike, if you get 4 successes, the spell goes off, and then you do 8 hits, right? Not 4 successes, you get 2 hits.
Oh, per success. Oh, yeah, that's
right.
Yeah. But you need a minimum of 4. So yeah, minimum of 4.
Right. Okay. Just making sure my understanding was right. Okay.
Yeah, but I think because Promethean also is because it's medium that it arrives like 1 turn earlier, so it can be like marching alongside of your lines, whereas the Hephaestian, it has to sort of like slot behind and appear like from behind your medium units in like the mid board. So I think like Promethean just is a bit more useful in terms of their capacity. I would probably put them in like low B still though, because I think outside of Polmark and Aristarch, I think like the Mechanist and Eidolon still like fairly low compared to those 2 amazing options. I still feel.
Really, I would put this guy at like A or S. I think you'll see him in every list.
I like hot takes.
I think you'll see him in every list. The Promethean.
Ooh. Even if it's under like Eidolon. Well, then again, Eidolon's like not bad either.
Yeah, the thing is that Temper Resolve is actually a really good spell, even if he's by himself with nobody around him. So this is the kind of unit you can't even let him go you can't even let him go first, because he will bash something really hard, and then he'll make sure you can't get rid of him after that. You're not getting rid of 14 wounds with R4D3 hardened 1 reroll both. It's morale and defense. He's not dying once he gets his spell off.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. That is a very interesting use case. Yeah.
I mean, Kai, are you gonna bring this guy?
Yeah. Now you convinced me. I wasn't before, but now you convinced me.
So I think he brings a very I think what you're gonna see is you're gonna see blobs, like Death Stars, and then you're gonna see Promethean in the middle. And the worst thing is that if you try and kill the Promethean, even halfway down his health, he can turn on Temper Resolve, and you're not gonna kill him for that round. And if you don't kill him and you start shooting other things, and I know you don't have the power to kill me anymore, then I'll just cast Quench Blades and make everybody else more deadly.
Oh, that's disgusting.
Yeah, you're just in this spot of like, what the hell, man? I mean, yes, for Wardrun we have an Apex to throw at you, and you might just die in a single hit, but that's unlikely.
All right.
Oh, you're hard in 1. Oh yeah, that's rough.
All right. So I think let's put him in S tier. Let's make this list hot and spicy by adding the first S tier, because we've already said like Companion Cavalry and Phalangites are pretty shit. So I think we need to put in something good just to appease the crowd. All right.
We'll see after the first few tournaments.
Yes.
Promethean is in like all the top lists.
All right. Next, it comes in with this is an interesting attachment called C tier Assassin. So this one is only available in 2 units, which is the Solenoid Hunters and Solenoid Rangers. It says it gives +2 to its attack characteristics on the stand, and then it can perform a free additional dual action using its command stand during its activation. However, refusing to duel does not cause the regiment to become broken, but if it's already broken, then it might not refuse the duel. Okay, I just read that you cannot break from refusing to duel, so this is essentially 25 points for 2 stats, for 2 attacks.
So sometimes lead to an exception about allocating wounds.
Also, because the units that you can attach them to are pretty squishy, defense 1, evasion 2 at best. Sometimes that might, if you go into a duel, you might still die. So, not always a good choice. I would just use it for the +2 attacks, because for the units that can bring them, they don't have a lot of officer option anyways. But it is quite a lot for 25, though.
Oh, I just read that the duel does not spill over to the regiment. What does it say? If the commander stand suffers any wound or dual action assigned to us who's only the command stand. So the stand can still die. Alright, fair enough.
You can lose your command stand
That's
in that duel, yeah.
Alright, so lesson number 1 is just don't duel, but for 25 points, I think I'd rather just pay like an extra stand. Because the hunter's additional stand is 60, never mind.
Yeah.
Never mind. Holy shit, they're expensive.
I don't know, man. This unit seems a bit weird. It's like those early units. What were the ones where they had all the special rules? My goodness, this one has all of them.
The
Information. Was it
Agema?
Infiltrators?
Vanguard clone infiltrators? Yeah.
Yeah. They had all the special rules at the start, right? They had everything. It kind of feels like this is the similar case.
Except melee.
Yeah, I mean it's Clash 2. So that means if you're dueling with this guy, you're paying 225 points for this guy to go in there and duel someone, and you're scaring him with 6 attacks because you've got the leader. So it's 6 attacks, and then with +2, 8 attacks at Clash 2. It's not great. Yeah, maybe if you got a Promethean nearby,
Now,
otherwise.
Good point.
All right. This is, I think it's going to the trash for now.
It's quite bad.
All right, the next one.
Wait. Did you read this? The regiment may arrive from any board edge.
Yeah, but this is the attachment we're talking about, right? Not the unit.
No, it's fine. I mean, like,
Right.
we can sort of put them in like the. All right, so the attachment is pretty bad. That one is I think.
Wait. But I will say this though, because this guy goes in the Solenoid Hunters, what I think it's meant to do is actually engage you from the flank.
Yes.
And then break you, so that you can't refuse the duel.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a use case. Yeah, but for like 225 points, you're hitting their archer line, and then they're going to die with just being charged from these guys. Death impact at Clash 2, but still like impact 2 with Vanguard as well, so they can move out of the reinforcement line and get like literally like in kissing distance of the archer unit, and the next turn you discharge.
They also have opportunists. So honestly, 200 points for the Solenoid Hunter. They bring so many new angles to your attack that I think it's a very scary unit. Especially if you have like gunline units that are just sticking around in the back. Normally they would be safe, but suddenly your hunters pop up and.
So yeah, since we're already talking about the Solenoid Hunters, I think this is the most unique ability in the game, right? As in they can come out of any like board edge.
I don't think anyone else can do this. Right? I haven't seen this before. I think this is the only unit that can do this so far.
I think
I like how they add the stipulation that character stands cannot be attached.
Because otherwise you just gotta bring Eidolons.
You bring Eidolon and then throw it in there and just fucks.
Hold on, who can bring the Solenoid Hunters anyway?
Aristarch and
the military guys, of course.
Yes, the military guys.
Well, I think just because of their interesting rules, I am sort of tempted to just put them in like the A tier, because I think it has a lot of interesting use cases.
Yeah, I think you'll bring them just to screw with your opponent.
Yeah, I mean, like engaging the slingers, right, or the marksman clone of Spire, or like the longbowmen, just threatening any missile units with like these idiots. Can you just
Yeah,
like
exactly.
force your opponent to like make like interesting decision on where like to deploy them?
Yeah, force you to hug either hug the edge or go right down the center, and then I'll just come out on the other side.
Yeah.
At the very end of the day, I'm just like, you fucked up, you screwed up your line so bad, and I'll just go somewhere else.
Yeah, it seems like there's like but just by the existence of these units will force your opponent to like make plays that they're normally not going to make. It's like when you're playing Sif and then your opponent have like a what's that rule called again? Outflank.
Yeah.
So suddenly you have all these like irrational decisions that you're making because you know that one unit is being deployed and then they can arrive at your flank. So suddenly you have, you go, oh, if I put like a archer unit there, he's gonna die. So I need to put a cavalry there, blah blah blah. So it puts your opponent into like this state where they're not exactly very comfortable, and I think just the existence of them will change like the way the game is played, which I think is interesting.
I think units that can influence the way your opponent is playing is always a really good premium, especially at the top tier level.
Yeah.
So you make them do stupid things, and then.
Yep. They just mess you up. Right. Next is Sacred Band, which used to be the worst unit in. The second worst unit in.
It had a weird stat line. It used to be defense 1, I believe, but also evasion 2. But then they fixed it, so now
it's defense 3 and evasion 0. Lol.
Well, defense 3 with phalanx, putting them at 4, right?
That's true.
But then they also have blessed, and they have really good spells, I believe. Especially because they're priest 4, but then their attachment, which I believe is something you bring every single time because it gives them +1 resolve and indomitable, as well as priest +1. The Sacred Band, I think they're basically super hoplites. Of course, they're more expensive. You pay more for them, but they're strictly better than hoplites.
I think that's why I'm putting them in like just one package, because I think like the Seer, you just bring the Seer. It's like an extra resolve, and like it's just really good.
It's really good. And then if you look
at
at
their base resolve,
their base resolve is 3.
And then they become 4.
4. If you bring enough stands, I feel
becomes 5.
5.
With support too, so yeah, I mean you're right. So you can bring like sort of like a 3x2 formation, and then you get like a bunch of attacks from the back as well, which is not too bad.
Then you use Autismo. You look at the spells, which makes them even tankier because the spell Autismos loses the blessed special rule, but you reroll all your failed defense rolls and morale tests. And here's something that I feel is going to be the core playstyle of city states. They are very good at keeping objectives. As you can see, because the spell, it makes your command stand count as 3 stands, teasing objectives. I think these guys are great. Can't wait to see what the model looks like.
And then the Molna base is a heal, right?
It is a heal.
Yeah.
Because they can cast spell as an action. They'll have extra actions to spare once the lines hit because you can't inspire anyways. So you should be able to do clash and then cast spell. Right?
Yep. Can you clash, use blessed, and then cast a spell?
I think so. It just says that it loses the blessed special rule, but if you do it before,
wow,
right?
Right.
That's how you're supposed to use it, right?
Good catch.
Ooh, that's
It's like, yeah, I can lose blessed. I already used it, so it doesn't matter.
All right then.
Being able to heal, I think this is one of the only heals they have, so it's pretty good.
Wait, how does scaling work now? Does scaling mean that you need 2 successes and then it adds more successes for?
No, you need like a minimum of because I think you need 2, right, to successfully cast a spell. With scaling, you need 3. So if you cast it to like a bigger regiment, you need at least 3.
Because they're devout, right? So they do get 1 automatic success.
Yeah.
And then they still they need 1 at low model count, and then okay.
All right. So unfortunately, because the army builder is bugged, so I can't tell you like what What? How many heals does the Molon Labi do?
I'm sure it's 1. I mean, that's the standard now. No one heals for 2 anymore.
Except spires, maybe.
The Spire? Oh, but that's not a spell, right? That's
Nah, this is like their
Crafter's Touch or whatever.
yeah, whatever their
Right here.
thing is
For
called.
each success, target regiment heals 1 wound, but the target is the range itself.
Okay, which means you always heal at least 1 because of Devout.
Yes,
and
because
then
of devout. And then you roll 5 dice because of priest 4 and seer.
Okay.
attunement is
So you need the success dice is that.
Yeah.
So attunement 3 means that you success on a 3 or less.
So
okay.
to 5 dice and devout.
Yep.
It can heal quite a lot.
yeah.
Okay.
It's pretty strong.
So again, I think this is sort of like the type of unit that sort of self sustains. They can sort of be outside of the main formation and just do their own thing because they can just hold a flank literally by themselves. So I think that's the sort of the use case for the Sacred Band here. I feel. So where should we
They
put?
don't need a character.
Yeah, where should we put this, guys?
It is restricted, so it's not like you can spam them. The point cost is 180. That's pretty good value, I feel, for so many.
Yeah,
many
but
abilities.
for D4 blessed.
Yeah.
All
I'll
right.
put them in A, I think.
I think it's like high A even.
Yeah.
These guys are. I think. Well, to be fair, it's not exactly 180 points. It's more like 195 points. So you're going to bring the Seer, but it just adds so much to the units that you can't not bring Seer. Basically.
It's almost an S, yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So the next one is this is something a little bit of vanilla. This is the Thorakites. Yeah, it's just light infantry. Huh? Is this the first light? No, it's the second light infantry, right? The other one is the Solenoid Rangers, yeah. So, yeah, it's just a light infantry with shield and fluid formation. Defense 2 becomes defense 3. And you can bring a Tyrian.
Yes, which is the big deal, I feel.
Wait, what? You can bring a Tyrian? What?
Yes.
Excuse me, this is what?
Yes. I think that's their best feature is that they can bring a Tyrian auxiliary.
Yeah, I think that's the only thing it's got going for it.
Yeah.
What? Alright, that's kind of nasty.
It is kind of nasty. At first, I considered that they are light, so they can push up the rank pretty quickly. But then at movement 5, I think like the Minotaur, the medium Minotaur, the Hospice will catch up pretty easy. So it becomes redundant at that point.
But they bring a crazy cow.
Yeah, or you could bring a unit of crazy cows instead.
Yeah, which we'll discuss directly after this.
Oh God, yes, please.
So where do you want to put these Thorakites? Because I think like if you just want to bring like a unit of cows, you just bring a unit of cows and bring like a light infantry that moonlights as a cow unit. So
The other light options, I feel, have more use cases, but we'll get to that.
yep. All right,
Yeah,
Ben.
if you bring the cow, it's 205, and then you
Yeah.
want to make the cow good and give it flurry. You can add another 25 points for the Iparchos, and then you're looking at 230, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, and it's still only defense 3.
All right.
Yeah.
Since you guys are already talking about the cows, let's talk about the cows.
Esther.
Yeah, Tyrians. So stat line, it resembles the Buchipolois of the. I think it's even like almost a mirror of like the Buchipolois. The difference being is that one has resolve, the other one doesn't.
Be inspired.
But this one can be inspired, yes. But it also comes with like everything. So terrifying 1, line breaker, fearsome, brutal impact 1, impact 3, and cleave 3 at line breaker. Ooh.
This is the biggest overkill I've seen probably in a while. If you're already cleave 3, even without line breaker, most of the time, opponent they have to roll. They have to roll. They only succeed on a 1. So line breaker and cleave 3 means you can hit defense 5 and it goes down to 1 if it's shielded. Really overkill.
yeah, I mean, like, we're talking about like the Legionnaires. Praetorian Guard, which has Bastion +2, Shield and Defense 2, -1 from Line Breaker, and then Cleave 3, so they become Defense 2. Defense 1? Ooh.
No, the 0.
0, Jesus. Oh.
Yeah, they're D2 shield and
Bastion twice, right?
Bastion, yeah.
Because Linebreaker breaks all of it at once.
Yeah.
So,
And then Cleave takes away the rest.
Yeah.
No. This makes a Praetorian unit with a Strategos with Harden 1 go to 0.
I cry every time.
Yeah.
These guys are restricted, fortunately. Otherwise, I think people will spam them. Otherwise, they're so good. Clash is 3, attack is 5, and then they're brutal impact 1 and impact 3. So if these guys charge a unit, even at their base, only like 3 guys, I think the damage is big.
I think these are prime target for slingers.
Everything's a prime target for slingers. What are you on about?
Okay, fine.
Stupid unit. All right.
I killed everything with my slingers last game. Like, heavily armored unit. And then they die because I create 20 something hits or something.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
so I think Tyrians is I think we can put them straight in like an S tier probably. Yeah.
Yes.
They are
At this point level, there is. I think at 210 maybe you'd see some competition, but at 190 it's not a competition.
No, it's not. It's pretty good. All right. Moving on to the last. There's supposed to be 3. I think I forgot to put in the Solenoid Rangers, so we could probably talk about the Rangers a bit. I think the Rangers are your only range option other than War Chariots, right? In the unit.
Only light range option.
Light range options in, yeah. It's an light infantry with movement speed 6, volley 2, with loose formation, which is they always count as being obscured from enemy volley, and they have barrage 4, range 16, and arcing fire. I think the arcing fire is well placed, especially in a unit where you want a lot of hoplites and a bunch of like line infantries in your front. I think arcing fire is a very good ability to have. I think this is a pretty solid option to have. They're just very like almost vanilla to that extent, with barrage 4 and range 16. But with arcing fire, I think they can do a lot of work. But with volley 2, plus minus. What do you think?
They're decently cheap, and you do want light units out, right? Because you do want at least 1 light unit, I feel, in any list, because otherwise that round 1 you just have nothing on the table. And considering that your options are only the Rangers or the Thorakites, I see this as almost a must bring, not because they're so great, but because there's no other option for light.
Yeah, it's just because that they are light with range. It's a light range unit. Like I think there's a use case for them like almost at every point in the game.
Barrage 4 is not bad. I think range 16 is not great either. But once the lines hit, they can probably like hide somewhere in the back and shoot over your formation.
Yeah, seems like a pretty good use cases. I think. Well, I don't have the picture here, unfortunately, but I think they're squarely in like at least a B tier at the very least, just because they're used. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. And then moving on to the last 2 of our list, we got the War Chariots. So the War Chariot is a very interesting unit. Ben, would you like to take us through the War Chariots here?
So movement 7, which is standard, like medium cav. You've got volley 2, clash 2, attack 4, wound 6, R3, D3, E0. They do come stock with fire in advance, and you can't bring the Iparchos with this unit because character stands may not be attached to those regiments. You can choose to bring you can choose to bring all of the all the bases with a certain upgrade. It's either the Scorpion, which gives you barrage 4 armor piercing 1 and 16-inch range and rapid volley, which means that any rolls of 1 you get an additional hit. Or you can choose the what the
Phlogiston.
hell? Phlogiston launcher.
What's a phlogiston?
It gives you holy shit, it gives you barrage 6.
Yeah, but 10-inch though.
Yeah, but you move 7, so as long as you're within 17, you can jump in short, hit them with 19 shots with leader.
Alright.
Deadly shots, torrential fire.
So they become like a mini Vanguard clone infiltrator.
They become a fucking like drive-by Uzi at this point.
So so I just like quickly Googled what a phlogiston is. Apparently it's a scientific theory that explains the process of combustion and oxidation. So they are bringing a shotgun, basically.
Is it Greek fire?
They're bringing Greek fire. Oh, flamethrowers. Ooh.
Yeah. I mean, just from the description, it sounded like Greek fire.
Ooh.
Combustion and yeah. Oh, okay. So that kind of makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that they have two very different strategies. The Scorpion can shoot longer, so it'll be there to whittle down your opponent before contact. The Phlogiston launcher being so short range, I think it wants you to lock the enemy in place first, or at least it needs to be protected because it's an expensive unit, right? It's 90 if you bring 3, that's already over 200 points. So you want them protected so that they can use their Phlogiston. Yeah, because 90
that's 3 units. That's 3 stands.
Oh, I think you need to. It's you buy them in like a stand per stand basis, guy. There's like 90 points for 1.
But then additional stand is 80.
Oh, you can bring like a bunch of them. Ah.
Wait, yeah, that doesn't make sense.
It's a bit confusing to me because if it's 90 points for 3, I think this is one of the best.
No. If you look at the top right, beneath 90, it says 1.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I see.
Yeah. But you can bring like a bunch of war chariots in like a formation, and you just go drive by shooting on like a flank.
Oh my god.
It's expensive.
Okay, but
Rightfully so.
but it does mean that because the rules of the game say that you must have 2 columns where possible, it does mean that you can put 2 infantry blocks side by side with not enough space for 2 stands, but enough for 1.
Then they can't be charged.
They can't be charged, yeah.
Oh wow, okay, that's
Right, and then you just fire in advance, you move out into somebody's flank, like maybe just past that flank mark, you Phlogiston him, and then you advance backwards afterwards. Fire in advance.
okay. Very sneaky. I like it.
Oh, this is such an asshole play, though. and I can't charge you, right?
Yeah,
And
you
it's
can't.
like-
So.
Yeah, and it's like, yeah, go on, kill my hoplites, then you can charge me. And everyone's like, what? How do I kill the hoplites?
And then they focus on you again next turn.
Yeah, it's actually
Every
pretty.
round you shoot your Phlogiston launcher, things are gonna die. Right? It's a
Yeah.
lot of damage if you get into close range.
Yeah.
But I mean, with the city-state gameplay being what they are, I think it will be close range eventually.
It's an interesting take on an infantry Greek fire invention. Like how it would have worked for them. It can't be on the flank, it has to be in the center to be protected. But if you pull it off, yeah. I think anybody's gonna get punished for just engaging city states and trying to slug it out. You're gonna lose a lot of guys.
So where should we put these war chariots?
I think. Sorry.
I would put them in A. I think they bring attack angles that you do not have otherwise.
Yeah.
Being a good long range attack, and the Phlogiston is being monster damagers.
Yeah, I would say they are. I think it's a very interesting unit, and it's a definitely very interesting take on like a missile cavalry. I just can't fathom the thought that the war chariot is just moving in and out of your infantry. But I guess because they have like very good discipline, you can say whoop, reform line, unform line.
I'm also curious as to how you can fit a whole chariot in one cavalry stand. Right? How are you gonna do that?
It's a barge. I don't know.
No,
I know Conquest has a problem with overhangs.
there's no oars. Oh God, you can't even do that.
Uh,
So either they're going to have bigger stands. It's Chariot only in name, as in it doesn't actually have a horse pulling it. It's like a Segway with a cannon.
no, it's a guy with a machine gun. I don't know. Phlogiston launcher. All right.
Segway before a Segway.
All right. Last attachment is the Iparchos. Unfortunately, we close up on but because the name is an X in it, that means it's the last on the line. So Iparchos is added in only Thorakites. No, in Agema as well. So they come in two flavors of the two other infantry, so the Agema or the Thorakites. And it says it gives +2 attack to its characteristics, and should this regiment activate from the strategic stack, they gain flurry.
I think
So
we should talk about the strategic stack a little bit too.
yeah, go for it.
So the strategic stack is their unique rule, where every time you're about to activate a unit, instead you can delay their activation, and you can put their card into the strategic stack, where you can then use them later on, at any time of your choosing after you activate the unit. So normally this is almost a free pass token. But there's a lot of units like this one, like the Iparchos, they get benefits if you activate them from the strategic stack. So it takes some forethought, but just the idea of being able to go, okay, you move, I'm going to get a free pass token. I think it's a very powerful mechanic in any game that requires alternate activation, especially early on.
Yeah, because you can also delay them into the very last activation when you know everything is already moved, and then you can just sweep in and reap the benefit. Mm-hmm.
It also allows you to kind of change your activation order because the enemies aren't in range of this unit yet. There's no good target, so I'll just put them in the strategic stack. Move them last when all the pieces have fallen into place. So I think it's a very interesting faction ability.
All right. So in that note, where should we put the Iparchos? I think it's a bit too expensive for its point cost at 25 points, and it only gives you 2 sort of situational ability on a unit that's already sort of almost situational in some extent. The Agema and the Thorakites. I think it has a lot of things going for them.
On the Agema, I think it stacks a lot of things. Because the Agema have pretty good quality of attack. It's Clash 3 and Cleave 1. So adding 2 and Flurry onto that, I think it's not like they have any other option. Right?
But you're basically paying 195 points for essentially a decent unit. Might as well, at that point, you just bring the cows at 190 points.
The cows are kind of skewing the scoring system.
I think, unfortunately, I would just put them in straight in C, or maybe even D, because it's not only it's sort of like a 25-point attachment. It also comes in with 2 units that's sort of middling in terms of both the stats and functionality. So I think it has 2 things going wrong for them. I think in this regards. All right, Ben. I think we've gone through all the options that we have in city states. Would you like to sort of amend something or make a quick comment on the list? I think, are you happy with what the list looks like and what the things that we put at least in the S and the D tier?
Yeah, no, I think I stand by. I think Promethean's going to be in every top list. I don't think
Promethean and Crazy Cow. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, at least Promethean. I think some people might. Nah, yeah, you're gonna bring the cows. Who are we kidding? 190 points with his monsters.
Linebreaker, Cleave 3. They're almost like a Dragon Slayer.
They're worse than Dragon Slayer. They got Linebreaker, man.
Mm. And
the Dragon Slayer just got staying power. This guy just murders all of you.
All right.
I don't think Dragon Slayer is A5, right? It's A4, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, A5 is. Oh wait, no, but they're Clash 4, right?
they have more accuracy for their punch.
Yeah.
And just the way that Wacom plays, they just will hold you to the ground and just beat you up while they're, the Dragon Slayer comes in later on, like sweeps down the flank. It's just the way
To be
they
fair,
play.
Dragon Slayer can stand up to these guys. They're the only ones with hardened 2, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's their base defense?
I think
Base 3.
base 3, hardened 2, so...
Goes
So-
to 2s. But they got six wounds or something, or 7 or some stupid amount.
Yep. But I think Wacom base has 5. I think these guys are more. I can check, but I think it sort of beats the point. Alright, cool. Kai, any other closing thoughts to the list? Are you quite happy with where city-states are? Outside of Companion Cavalry, which I think everybody sort of agrees probably deserves some buff. Probably.
I think no. I think our tier list is pretty good. My last thought is that some of the units, despite not being flashy like the Hoplites, I think they really are the core of the army because you need probably more than just 1 or 2 units because they're pretty cheap. They can do a lot of work. So. Can't wait to try them out. I think it's a very interesting army to play and paint.
So Ben, when are we getting them in Indonesia?
They're already with me. Just tell Fred to place an order and it can be with you in 2 days.
Oh, there it is. Or we can just fly to Singapore.
Or you can fly to Singapore on the 25th. We're having a Greek night. If you're in Singapore, be welcome to join us. I don't know whether this will air before then. But if you are in Singapore and you attend, if you wear a toga, you get 25% off any city-state starters.
Are you serious?
25%.
Off, you gotta wear a toga and no like low-effort bathrobes. I mean like a proper decent job in a toga.
Are you gonna take pictures and like post them?
If anyone does it, yes. But I do suspect that no one will do it.
I think the Singaporeans have too much pride.
Yeah, I think no one's gonna be into it that much, and I think too many people are not willing to wait, so they've already picked up the city-states. So yeah.
Oh well. Well, this has been another video by WarGames.id. If you haven't subscribed to Ben's channel at Blitzminis, please would you like to give a shout out to your channel, Ben?
We try and do weekly bat reps. Unfortunately, all the bat reps on there now are still on 1.5 reset, so we will be trying to do some, but it's been a bit hectic at home now, so maybe we will start next month, but we will get back to our original programming of 1 battle rep per week.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I need to actually get my videos out after like being vacuumed for so long. I think hopefully we can get some Conquest stuff happening. But yeah. Thank you, Kai. Thank you, Ben. And to the rest of all of you watching this, have a good rest of the day. I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye for now.
Alright, thanks guys.